All right, so it's Saturday night. We're out here working in the trailer because I don't have a garage. We're on a budget. Just bought this house in September, so we're out here working on the 800. We're gonna do a clutch change, which should help us 60 foot a little better. Also, we were hitting a rev limiter going through the quarter mile last Saturday night. So what this should do, we're gonna add some weight to the clutch, which should lower the RPM going through the quarter, which should keep us in our power range, because right now 8600 is about where we want to be with the RPMs, and we're going through the quarter at 9600. So I will show you guys what's involved in taking a clutch off one of these and give a brief explanation as to what I'm doing and why I think it should do what we need to get into the nines tomorrow. So what we got going on here is, so we have our primary clutch and our secondary clutch. The primary clutch is what controls basically your RPM, so your launch RPM and your top end RPM is controlled by everything that's in that front clutch. So we are running, I'll give you a brief look at the motor. We're running Electron carbs, billet head, ported. It's factory stroke, factory bore, you know, nothing crazy. Old school rear clutch, correct front clutch for on this, but this is off an older sled. I think a bat just tried to fly in the trailer with me. I did not build this sled, but if we decide to keep it, I will be rebuilding this sled because I don't like the way it's built, but so far it's working. So set you guys up on the tripod here. And we'll get to tearing this apart. Alright, so there is our clutch. So from here, usually bottom pops out. So we got a little heat on it and from the last race. So you're just left with your sheath. There you can see we got a big black ring around this clutch, which is from the belt. So there's a little bit of clutch misalignment, which sucks, but it's not the end of the world. So to pull one of these TRA clutches apart, you'll need these little like horseshoe deals. They hold your bushings in. You pull these up. You just barely get them out. And then there's a little groove that these fit in. Well, kinda, it's not like a big groove. It's just from doing this so often with this clutch. But you do not want to pull this out of here without a set of these, because these little pucks will go flying. And they are a bear to get back in these clutches if you don't have the right tools. You can get these things off of Wall Brothers for about 18 something dollars, and they are lifesavers. I'll be honest, I normally have my dad do this. He is the clutch guru in the family. But since I'm working the late shift tonight, So then under here, you can see we have our ramps. So your ramps in a TRA skidoo clutch are what these little arms ride on. So as this spins, it throws these arms out, which the rollers on these arms ride on these ramps, and then that's what pushes this clutch. It pushes this sheath. I'll just show you. So as this unit's spinning, these arms fly out, which then pushes this. There's a big spring in here that pushes out on that outer clutch, which then shoves this down and makes these get closer together, which then pinches the belt. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to see how much weight we got on these things and try and add some. So you get your little gram scale out. Well, shout out to Wrenchworks for the sweatshirts. They make sweatshirts that are for people that do like what I'm doing, working in my trailer because I don't have a garage. That, and it covers up my aluminum seat so you guys aren't blinded by the light that comes off of it. Grab our Allen wrench. Oop. Guess that's not the right Allen wrench. Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna change these for now. So these are a thunder shift ramp. They're not a factory skidoo ramp. As you can see, there's some set screws in here. These set screws and the pins are what dictate how much weight is on these arms, because as these spin, where you have the weight dictates how fast these arms come up. So the more weight you have towards the pin, the more pin weight you have, period, the faster that arm spins. So it's a very simple, very simple how it works, but it's very fascinating how accurate you have to be to get this all working. Because I mean, you think about it, your engine RPM is, like on this particular application, is 8,600 RPM. So I mean, everything in here is spinning very fast. Alright, so we had two little brass washers on the end of this and a small bolt. So let's turn our little gram scale on here. And we're reading in grams, we're set to 0. So let's see if it even registers one of these little washers first. So one of those washers is half a gram. So there's 1 gram in washers. And we got 5.1. So our bolt is 4.2. That's weird. Okay, we're almost at 5.2 grams. So that's what that one weighs. And there's 2 bolts in here. There's 2 brass bolts in here. I need a bigger wrench. And there's also 2 1.6 gram set screws in here. So the other night we added the set screws because we needed more weight because we were hitting a rev limiter at 1,000 foot. So we added, let's see, 3.2 grams to each arm in order to make this thing go through the finish line at a lower RPM. The more weight you add, the harder it is to make these arms move. So it essentially slows the clutch down. So this is a big brass bolt that weighs 5.8 grams. So I think what we're gonna do here is back these set screws out a little bit so we don't bottom our bolts out. We got little tuner cars running by at 10 o'clock at night. Alright, so we have a menagerie of bolts and washers and Inconel washers and more brass. Basically, whenever you're making clutches, doing clutch stuff, you always use like heavy material, like brass, Inconel, Mallory, things that just weigh a bunch. And then you also carry things that don't weigh a bunch. I've already seen guys drill out pennies and stick them in because they run out of things to add weight with. So this is a heavy washer. That washer itself is 5.3 grams. So I think what we're gonna do is, let's see, we're gonna write down what we had in it so that we can always go back. Always write down what you have in something so you can always revert back to it. So we had we had a small bolt with 2 washers. So 5.2 if we weigh everything individually, grams toward the pin. So that was what we had towards the pin. And we had a big brass bolt, which was 5.8 grams toward the pivot. So by pivot, I mean the hinge end of the spring. And then we also had 1.6 grams set screws. So from here, what I'm thinking we'll do is, let's see, how much thread engagement do we have with that? Pretty good. That's 11 grams. So what we'll do is we'll take our 2 set screws out. Take those 2 guys out. Don't drop the little set screws, they're very hard to find. Swing this open, we're gonna put, that's a big jump. Well, I can always change it. Alright, so we're gonna put 11 grams towards the pin. I'm I'm a big fan of making big changes so that you see things right away. That's my philosophy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it bites me. And then we're gonna take, what's one of these little screws? 2.6. So we're gonna put 2.6 grams in the bottom then. We're gonna leave our set screws out because there's a lot of weight on this thing, which I feel like it needs it, so. Should I put the small one in first? It's a pain in the butt. We're gonna see if we can bring back 2 back-to-back wins. We won last Saturday night. And we're gonna see if we can win tomorrow on a Sunday. Father's Day. Dad just fixed his sled up, so. If he's feeling good tomorrow, we'll have him at the track and we'll try and get some more footage. I'm working on getting some more GoPros so that we can have some on sled videos. Oh, that's heavy. Alright, so let's write down what we got in here now. Old, new, 11 grams toward pin, 2.6 grams toward pivot. So in total we got 13.6 grams. I didn't weigh the pins. I don't feel like pulling the pins out and weighing them right now. I don't have other ones to put in it. So I'll just put a T there for total. Let's see what we have on the old one. So that's a 0. Carry the 1. 11 plus we lost weight. Let's see. Oh, I put the wrong pin in the bottom. I don't want to put that 2.6 in there. We want to put, I make mistakes, guys. It is what it is. Make fun of me in the YouTube comments. At least I'll get some comments. So the other thing that we're going to do is to try and get rid of the nasty wheelie. I'll put a clip in here of the wheelie in slow motion. Whenever you wheelie before you even move forward, it's just a waste of horsepower. It's a waste of ET. So our 60 foots have been like 1.42 to 1.48. They're just kind of all over the place, which is ridiculous. And we need to get them down in the 1.2s. Let's see, that's a big bolt. That was 4.2. We're gonna put the bolt. We're gonna leave the take the top bolts out and put the bottom bolts back. Put them in the bottom. That's 5.1. I like that. So we're basically gonna add, we're gonna add a lot of weight. Oh man, if I lose these set screws, Dad's gonna kill me. Put that one back in there. Yeah, I'll just look for that later. So, 5.2, which brings our total to 16.2 grams. That should make a big difference tomorrow. So the way we're going to try and take care of this wheelie is I'm going to go downstairs tonight and make up some struts. And I just do not have the right wrench for any of this. Oh, there it is. So we're going to make some solid struts, get rid of the shocks on the front because they're not adjustable. And we need to be able to tune the height, the ride height in the front to try and get rid of this wheelie. Once we know what ride heights we need, then potentially we could put shocks back in it that are the correct height. But we'll see. There's a lot of guys that just run, all they run is a solid strut in the front, and that's, it works. So hopefully between making some suspension changes, making this weight change, we can get it in the 9s tomorrow, and we'll be one step closer to reaching our goal of running 560s. So I'm just going to change all these out. We'll throw it on a time lapse. We'll throw the clutch back together and put it back on. Alright, one thing I gotta mention is there is a, let's see, there's an arrow on this side of the clutch with the ramps in it, and then there's a little dimple or like a, there's a spot and another arrow you can see there. All of them gotta line up whenever you put these back together. So then you just get them all lined up and start pushing. Sometimes they fight you a little bit if you don't get them all lined up perfect. Everything's got to go in even. And you just pull them off, and back together it is. So while we have this apart like this, we're going to get a Scotch-Brite and we're going to clean that up and put a little scuff on it. Anytime you got one of these clutches apart, you want to check them for cracks and, you know, imperfections or gouges or anything. Like I said earlier, the faster these things spin, the more chance, you know, the more RPM you run, the more chance you have at something going wrong. So I always brake clean my clutches after every pass. The last pass I didn't because I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you pull one apart after a run. Now this black line on here isn't normal. That is a result of the motor flexing. So we're trying to, and it's creating a misalignment with the clutches. So we're trying to get that straightened out. We're making small adjustments with the clutch alignment so that we don't get anything out of whack. Like I say, just scuff them up. I try to go a couple different ways, you know, just like scuffing a clutch disc. You know, your steels in a clutch car or in a bike. You know, you give them a scuff, go in multiple directions, try and get the much rough area as you can, so you have get some good friction on your. So the belt in one of these basically acts as the friction material in, like, your organic material or whatever you want to say, in a clutch that's on a bike or in a car or anything like that. So you just take your spline shaft back down on there. Everything goes together. You're good to go. So I'll bring it back over here. I'll give you guys it's just a tapered shaft on the end of the crank. And then, you know, our belt. I run a Gates belt. It's a 49, what is this thing? A 49C 4266 by Gates. It's a G-force belt. It's part of their carbon series, so it's a really good belt. I'll probably put another one on for tomorrow. It's a really good belt. I've had a lot of luck with them on my turbo sled, which you guys haven't seen yet. Let's see, where did I put that clutch bolt? So basically a bolt holds that on there. So I like to run them in, give them a quick little burst like that, and then I put a wrench on here and tighten them down with a bigger wrench. So I'll show you the shocks here quick. So the shocks on this thing are kind of dopey. I don't really like them. So we're gonna swap that out for a solid strut that doesn't give it all, doesn't open up, doesn't compress, you know, no rebound, no compression to set up. And we're gonna get this thing going flat and straight, no wheelie with those, hopefully. And I'm gonna go work on them right now. So for now, for tonight, that's gonna be it. We'll pick this up tomorrow morning when we strap it down to go to the track. So here we're doing our assembly on our struts. down in my basement of the house we just bought. I moved all my fabrication stuff down there, at least the stuff that would fit down the steps. So just taking basically a piece of chromoly, 14 inches long, putting 2 heim joints in the end of it, sanding them up, weld them up. We made 2 of them. They're pretty easy to do. Makes it look real fast on the time lapse here. I wish I could work that fast. So we'll get them welded up, and I use only edge welding cups, as you'll see in this video. So we're gonna get our struts welded up this morning. It's the next day, it's race day. I'm trying to get these struts welded up. Shout out to Edge Welding for this GL18. These things are awesome when it comes to welding stainless, chromoly, anything steel. Some of their other series, their other lines, they have an XL line that's real long for reaching down into collectors. They got a narrow series, which is awesome for getting into doing roll cages or framework, chassis work. It's all great. So we'll throw this on a time lapse and we'll weld this up. So here I have them on my little T-table. Just a chunk of aluminum helps pull a little bit of heat out of them, and it's also certified flat, so that holds it down nice. We have a CK Worldwide flex lock torch on this. I run a little Eastwood TIG 200 right now, working on possibly getting a better welder with a pulse feature, because I have a header to do on the turbo sled. So here we skip to the track, and this is basically how the sled looks in between rounds. So we take the clutch cover off, let the clutches cool. We have a cool cart hooked to it. Open up as many panels as we can. That way the air flows through, cools the motor down, cools the pipes down. It's a brief overlook. We got them struts on there that we just made. Temp gauge tack. There's the cool cart. So that's just full of ice with a little radiator in the bottom of it, help pull some heat. And that's what we do in between rounds. So here you're going to see my second round pass, which we lost a little traction, but we made do with what we had. Unfortunately, we couldn't cover the dial because of the spin and a little hop. So if you look close, you'll see the front end bounces a couple times. Here we went up for an exhibition pass just to see if my clutch change made any different going through the quarter mile. Due to wind, they cut us down to 8th mile, so this is a quarter mile pass, and what happened is it worked. So clutch change worked, but unfortunately the clocks weren't on, so we didn't know what we ran. So it's Monday. We just got done editing part of the video, and I didn't do anything to close it yesterday, so I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a look around my at-home fab shop to kind of show you what you can do in your home too. So this is the table that I was welding those up on. Eastwood TIG 200. I've had that for about 10 years. Still works great. I'm slowly outgrowing the capabilities of that machine. Just some miscellaneous projects we got going on. We got Nerf bars, Street Outlaws on the TV. Got a fiberglass cowl for one of the other sleds that we got building right now. Tubing notcher, drill press, sander, random mess set of Nerfs that we just finished up. Quad frame that we use to jig the Nerfs. And this is the CK torch I was talking about. It's flex lock, CK Worldwide, only place to buy your torches from. Go over to the toolbox. We got all kinds of different cups in here. This is that GL18 from Edge. This is one of their XL series. See, it's a XL8 GL920. Got a narrow, which is rectangular, and that helps getting into a lot of the different areas. Got a straight torch, and you know, contour finder, all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. So gets us done, gets us through what we need to do. You know, I'm in the basement. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. I'm on a budget. So that'll do it for the video. I know this was a long one. We're going to try some long videos and some short videos, but we're doing our best, and you know, we're just putting it out there. So big shout out to Edge Welding, CK Worldwide, just for making killer products and answering any questions I have whenever I have a question about their product line, or you know, they're very knowledgeable about different welding. So as far as our sponsors, big shout out to Stony Ridge Food Plots for, you know, helping us out with some fuel and some belts this year. Advanced Composite Products out of Harrisburg for helping me out with all the composite work that I'm getting into right now with the sled we're building. Do a video on that sled soon. Mikey G up at Garofalo Enterprise for helping keeping our tow rig running and any diesel stuff that I need. CTT Tuning for keeping my truck tuned. The Crank Shop, Dynaport, all the big snowmobile companies just for answering my endless questions about tuning setups. Go check out Dynaport Racing, Rich Daly on Facebook. He's running a big sled race at Dragway 42 this year. So if you run a sled and you're somewhere near Ohio, or you're within a couple hour drive of Ohio, go check it out. It's on his Facebook page, or get on my Facebook page, and I share the event about every week. So that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed.